let me see.
Oh, the Lord is my shepherd.
Yes, so how does it apply your face?
My own face.
Yeah. Or you can use and can write it.
Okay. Opokwagera at the back.
No, it's not.
Okay.
This was serves a
Okay.
purpose.
So that is the conversation in Ajah upon the message you receive. They want us to extend it to a longer time, but I'm sure it is strict here to just 1 hour. So that and also continue with the other things in the
Okay.
just hold on first. I will signal you. So really identify.
So, in the introduction, you focus on the camera. Then focused after the introduction. Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, viewers. Good afternoon, members of Presbyterian Church of Nigeria. Good afternoon, Presbyterian Church of Nigeria worldwide. We want to celebrate you for tuning in to join us in this very conversation as marking even the 180th anniversary of the Presbyterian Church of Nigeria. We are here with us, the second man in the Presbyterian Church of Nigeria, that is the Principal Clerk, Most Reverend Professor Miracle Ajah. Please, can you say hi to our viewers?
Hello, viewers. I wish you grace upon grace.
Thank you so much. Without wasting time, we want to let our viewers know that the chat box, whether you are watching us from the YouTube or watching us from Facebook, you have the chat box to put down all your contribution, questions, and congratulatory messages. We are going to restrict this conversation to only 1 hour. So whatsoever you want to do or ask, just place it at the chat box and we will pick it up from there. Thank you so much. Let's go back to our PC now. PC, sir, I don't know, would you like to introduce yourself formally to us?
Dear viewers, my name is Most Reverend Professor Miracle Ajah, the Principal Clerk of General Assembly. I came to this office in September 2020. So if you add it up to this particular year, this is 6 years, up to 2026. And for this period, I've been piloting the administrative assignment of the Presbyterian Church of Nigeria. And by the grace of God, we are doing our best. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's start from the journey, from where it started. Would you like to tell us, dear PC, the things that were in your mind, even though we read the manifesto would you like to tell us the things that were in your mind when you came to the office?
Before I came to this office, I've been desiring to make my contribution in the Presbyterian Church of Nigeria. Even when I didn't know that I can become the principal clerk of the General Assembly. Some time ago, I was a rector at Hugo Day-led Theological Institution, RHB. So, but when I got appointment again with the National Open University, that made me not to complete my service as the rector then. I had put in 4 years as a lecturer, then 2 years as the rector of the institution. So I was now given a new appointment as a lecturer with the National Open University of Nigeria. So that made me to leave Gold earlier than my tenure could have finished. But at the time, I was thinking that there was a contribution I needed to do in PCN. So that was how, when they were advertising for a new rector, because my successor at that time was completing his tenure and they were looking for a new rector. So I applied again, because this urge inside me was telling me there is still a contribution you needed to make. Well, I attended that interview, and when they finished the screening, I was not successful. But a few years later, the issue of becoming the principal clerk came on board. I was the last to apply. Eventually, through the grace of God, I was elected, or rather, I was elected into the office. I came because of what I had in mind to accomplish in the Presbyterian Church of Nigeria. One of it has to do with the issue of aggressive church planting, evangelism, and discipleship. If you are privileged to look at that manifesto again, that was one of the major things that was in my heart. That within the period I would be in the office, I will help to drive this aggressive church planting, evangelism, and discipleship. Not that I will be the one that will go to the field, but no, it's just to create a platform, making it possible for people to really do the work. I was going to maybe do the work of a mobilizer, somebody that will encourage, making all the parameters that will help us achieve this. So that was how I came on board. Now, the issue of documentation was also a challenge in our church. I was of the opinion that if I'm giving an opportunity, I will make sure we do proper documentations of our minutes, especially when meetings are being held at the General Assembly level. Most of the time, members complain. They don't know what is happening at GA. So one of the things in my mind was that if I come on board, we will find a way to document first the minutes as I went you, and to find a way to disseminate it to the grassroots. And there were other points I raised in that manifesto, about, let me say, 5 of them. By the grace of God, we're trying to pursue it.
Thank you so much. In fact, if you will look at everything within these 6 years, you will see that our dear PC has really contributed so much in these areas, and he has not diverted from the things he has said he was going to do. Okay, dear PC sir, would you like to tell us a moment you will not have to forget during this tenure, a moment that gave you joy, a moment that when you look back you say, I will be glad, or you'll be glad that you did this particular thing?
Yes. If you look at all our contributions, the one I consider, I call it the biggest one, is the ability to create the GS synods from 10 to 30. To achieve that was not easy. How are you going to convince the whole synods to allow themselves to be split into smaller units? Because we discovered that our synods were getting too large. And our synod moderators were more or less overseeing a very big estate, which sometimes they may not find it easy to coordinate. So, but the thing we needed to do quickly was to make sure that some of these synods are created so that you create opportunity for leadership from the grassroots. And for you to achieve this, you know our church is a democratic church. You don't impose it. It must come as a product of deliberation and decision. So having passed through the different course of the church and setting up a committee that tried to draw a kind of a blueprint, especially on synod autonomy, because synod autonomy and the divisions of these synods, they happened concurrently because this one will give rise to the other. So that's one of the achievements I will consider as the biggest, because we created a platform for the future growth of the Presbyterian Church of Nigeria. And that creation was actually a replica of what was done many, many years ago in the Synod of the West, when I was there elected as the first moderator of Synod of the West, and our current prelate was the clerk. So we had that intention of expanding our church in that synod. And we did this aggressive splitting of parishes, creating more parishes, having more presbyteries to qualify us to become a synod. And after we achieved that, go to the West now, that one synod currently has about 5 synods, meaning the experiment we did in the West was exactly what we have done in the larger body. And I would also think that it was in the divine arrangement that these 2 persons that did a pilot, what I call a pilot project in Synod of the West, I was the moderator, prelate was the clerk. Later on, after many years, the Lord brought us back together. The one that was the clerk now became the prelate, and the one that was the moderator now became the clerk. So that was why when we were pushing this vision of creating additional synods, both of us believed in it passionately, to the point that the church saw the need and they accepted. Since the creation has been done, it is, a very rooted testimony that our church is benefiting a lot from it.
Wow, thank you so much, dear PC. Having considered some of these impact achievements, even from the one we had shared past 2 days just before this celebration, can we now say that this has been impactful on the church? What are these impacts that these achievements have had on the church?
Well, there are different achievements which time will fail me to mention all of them. But last week I released a form of a newsletter. And this newsletter has different subheadings of what this administration achieved. And I will say, like, taking it from the first one, the aggressive church planting, evangelism, and discipleship. One of the things that helped the church is to create the opportunity of planting more churches. We have planted more churches from when we came till date. If you check that report, there is a section for statistics. We had about 66 presbyteries before. But within this period of aggressive church planting and the effort in doubling up what we have done before, the number of presbyteries have grown from 66 to over 100. So that is to show that things are really happening, and many of our leaders are trying very hard to make sure the work of God continue to progress. Many other achievements we have had over the period, 2020 was the COVID year. And at that time, they were jokingly referring to me as the COVID principal clerk. Not that I was suffering COVID, but just that we came during the period of COVID. So the number one challenge was how to meet physically, because physical meeting was very, very difficult. COVID-19 was like a reset of the world system, and that is what they started referring to, the new normal, There was a new way to live, so the old way of always meeting physically started giving way for the new approach. But let me also confess that my exposure to National Open University of Nigeria gave me the privilege of conducting virtual meetings and some of the online stuff we do. Because it's on record that when I was there in the Open University, during the COVID year, National Open University was the only university that did not close down because of virtual approach. So that was what we brought into this administration. And most of our meetings at that time started holding online. Initially, people thought it was not possible. How is it possible to take a GAEC decision online? Okay, if you want to screen some candidates for election, how are you going to screen it? How are you going to evaluate them and then put the result out? But over the years, we have discovered that all these things are possible virtually. And that aspect has actually saved a lot for PCN. It has saved a lot of money for PCN. And the stress you normally find traveling on the road, the cost implication, all those things we have added because God has helped us through virtual meeting. Actually, COVID-19 eventually came as a blessing in disguise. That the church has a lot of achievement today through infrastructure and other aspects. It's just because the church is now able to save more money that they would have expended maybe if there was a physical meeting.
Thank you so much. I wish I had all the time. I would have allowed the PC to mention all the achievements, and then it is well and more. It will be well spoken than well explained than what we read on paper. But then I wish you will have that document shared alongside with you. Okay, so back to our PC again. Let's begin to look at some challenges. I know that some of these achievements would not have come very easy, and other ones that may still come between now and July may not also come easily. Please, would you like to highlight some of the challenges that you faced within this period that you were the principal clerk?
People of God, the number one challenge I have as a principal clerk, I used to jokingly tell people, assuming they had removed that aspect, maybe I would have enjoyed this work more than ever. And the aspect I said that is more challenging than others is the issue of posting of church workers to different locations. No matter how you do it, you can't please everyone, especially when you have a limited number of parishes. When I joined the ministry newly, that was 40 years ago, when I joined the ministry newly, we had more churches than you have ministers. So at that time, one minister could be in charge of 5 parishes. I had a friend that was in charge of 19 congregations. His church, that the parish was very wide, and they had like 19 congregations. So we had more parishes than we have workers. Now, fast forward to this present generation. We now have more workers than we have parishes. That's why if you come to certain parishes after the ministry in charge, because we're looking for spaces where we want to post ministers, we now have associate 1, associate 2, associate 3. And there's another one we call PMP associates. And these are people that are actually qualified to become ministers in charge. In our church system, the moment a minister is ordained, you are qualified to be a minister in charge. Because in those days, 40 years ago, when we joined the ministry, and after 1 year of probation, the next year you become a minister in charge. But you can't think of that today. Now we have what we call first-time associate, meaning after you are ordained, you will stay back in an associate position and serve for 3 years. Then after that one, because there are no vacancies, you go for another associate. They call that one second-time associate. You will do that one for 4 years. Then, if after 4 years you are due for posting, you should have gone to a place you will become the minister in charge. But because the spaces are not there, you go and do another aspect of associate. That one is now called PMP associate. So, but that kind of a challenge is actually what I saw in this assignment as very difficult, because when you begin to have the difficulty of locating persons to where they belong, even though we post according to a category, we still find it difficult to absorb everyone. And at the end of the day, the principal clerk is, everybody is looking up to you as whether you have offended them or you have given some people favoritism more than they are. So my brother, my number one challenge in this office has to do with posting. But within the period of time, we've tried our possible best to improve on how it could be done. That's why, starting from last year, we decided that we should decentralize posting. In view of the fact that we now have synod autonomies, so most of the local posting should be done by synods, not by the General Assembly. So that was what we did last year, that synods could post categories C, D, E, whereas General Assembly will post category A, B. People of God, I want to tell you that this approach has helped us a lot. It has helped a lot because that last year, most of the questions that would have been asked the principal clerk, I will now refer them back to synod to answer. So if anybody is from that synod that you are not located the way you wanted it, go and ask your synod officers. So this year too, we have used the same approach. We are trying to perfect it, and there's an improvement, meaning the headache that was for one person has been divided into 30 now. It has been divided into 30. General Assembly will have one share. Then the rest of the synod will have the remaining share. So notwithstanding, the church is still moving forward, planting new churches. Our major challenge is not as if new churches are not being planted. But when you have a full-time pastor going to pastor a church that just started newly, that local church will not be able to cater for the needs of the minister. So the reason why we keep attaching them to bigger parishes is for survival. Meanwhile, if those small churches, because in a few years' time they are going to grow by the grace of God, and the time will even come where we'll start looking for ministers again, because there are many small churches being planted today, even though their only challenge is that if a worker that is sent to them is a full-time person, he finds it difficult to really meet up. That's why we're using tent makers in some places or ministers of secondment. So my brother, let me just focus on that as the major challenge we have seen.
Okay. Thank you so much, JDC. Now, I know that being in this role as the principal clerk has a lot of lessons. It has a lot of things that even younger people who are now serving in presbyteries as clerk and senior ministers who are serving in the synods as clerk. Can we now draw a lesson from this role of the principal clerk, from this central authority of the church, and say these are the lessons we have learned from the challenges we have faced?
One of the things that have helped us to succeed in this office of the General Assembly is the unity that we have seen being exhibited by the principal officers, the prelate, the principal clerk, the deputy clerk. The synergy that has operated among them is very powerful. So that's why if we're going to have any discussion, let's assume we're going to have a General Assembly Executive Committee, the agenda will first be discussed or evaluated by the principal officers. Because we cannot just come out in the open and have a conflicting interest. We have to agree first before we come to the public. That's why each time we have moderated our meetings, people keep wondering how these three persons are always on the same page. So let me say that the major lesson that has helped us is the aspect of unity. We have worked together as a team, and that is only what has helped us. So for presbyteries and synods and other lower courts of the church, including arms of the church, I also want to assure you that the reason why people have conflict is because of break in transmission. It's because of break. If the communication line is not open and people are playing hide and seek. That's the reason why the leadership will have a problem. So for the General Assembly today, our communication has been very solid. And one other thing that has helped us to always keep in touch, if it was before, maybe I will be traveling down to Calabar to always meet with the prelate so that you update yourself on information. But it's no longer so. This technology has helped us now to always be in touch. 24/7, we are in touch. If there is a challenge coming to the PC that it will require clarification, he will quickly reach out either to the deputy or to the principal, to the prelate. This is an aspect that has helped us so much in the church. Another thing I want to also observe as a very big lesson is the nature of our General Assembly Executive Committee. At the time we were doing it physically, many people that would have been able to attend the meeting could not attend, especially people of high professions. Because of their busy schedules and the type of assignment they are always facing, they find it difficult to attend physical meetings. And if you go for physical meetings, maybe it's only ministers and few elders that will attend. But by the reason of virtual meeting, where somebody can participate, whether you're in America or in Australia, it has improved the quality of our meetings. Not just in quantity, now in quality, because people can participate from everywhere. No one will now say, I was not in the meeting. If I was there, I would have given this opinion or the other opinion. That opinion they would have wished they would have given is not being given. So that has also helped the church. The quality of our meetings and decisions have actually improved to help PCN.
Thank you so much, our dear DC. We hope that the synods and the presbyteries, even the parishes, will draw from these very lessons that the PC is sharing and then include it in their daily administration. That is going to help them. Okay, let's go a step further. Looking at the persons, I've just had an interaction casually, unofficially with the persons that work with you, sir, at this very level. And some of them have testified that there is this leadership skill that you have, which they are very comfortable with. When they have done wrong, there's a way you correct them, and they don't feel so bad about that. So what would like you to share with us? What does leadership mean to you? How do you consider leadership, even at the point you are supposed to take your place as the boss, but yet people can easily come to you to tender their complaints?
Well, from my own perspective, any effective leadership must be a community approach, because leadership is community. Community in the sense that you are not trying to lord it over anyone. You want everyone in that community to feel part of that, to feel that he or she belongs to that community. And the leader is not the one that does everything, he's just a motivator. One who encourages others, one who looks for a way to maybe give them motivation to do what we are doing, especially trying to have a work ethics which everyone will try to obey and respect. Like in our office, at the beginning of each work day, we'll start with morning devotion. That's why our General Assembly chapel, we always pray there every day of the week, Monday to Friday. Then on Wednesday, we attend midweek Holy Communion. So every staff always strive very hard to be in the office before 8 o'clock so that they can participate. So it's a means of making sure attendance, people attend to programs early. But I know that in some other offices somewhere, people come to office when they like. It is not so. When we discover that somebody is not coming to office to participate in the morning prayer, we approach you and encourage you and say, please, have a change of attitude, because our tradition here is to start every day with a morning prayer. So morning prayer has become a motivation for attending to office early. And there are other relationships where from time to time, departmental heads will come and meet with the principal clerk. They will first, at the beginning of the year, tell us what they are planning for the year. And in the course of the year, you still find out from them whether what they said they are going to achieve for the year, whether they have started achieving it. Apart from that, if there are misunderstandings, you find a way to resolve it amicably, either between a staff and the other staff. Because we keep telling people, it's not only when you make official report against somebody that that particular problem will be solved. You can use a pastoral approach. When you have seen that somebody has not done well, approach the person as a friend, and you will see that things will still be resolved. Then the other aspect which I know that usually create problem in leadership is when the leader does not care about the welfare of those he is leading. So here we try our possible best to make sure we don't use any particular order to favor anyone. If we are paying leave allowance, we'll make sure everyone is paid as a weight due. If you want to pay for rent subsidy, you don't have to pay people in arrears. So we have planned it in such a way that it will be integrated in your salary, so that when A is receiving, that is when B, C, D, E are receiving. You don't need to wait for workers to start begging, please pay me my rent, pay me my leave allowance. So, and not only about welfare, okay, even the issue of health is also welfare. Like we have introduced the church to NHIS, National Health Insurance Scheme. So where our workers, over, let me say, over 45 of them are registered in the scheme. Every year, the GA renews the premium for every staff to go there and receive treatment. So I'm thinking that some of these kind gestures from the office and the way we relate has made our administration to be very peaceful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would have loved to go for a short break now, but then let's push for that and see how we can get to the serious discussions that we want to have. Yeah, dear PC sir, we would like you to talk about some of the tough times you've had. We will not say that you have achieved the things you have achieved so easily. And then what has kept you going amidst these tough times? You know, when it's as if, would you like to quit? Has there been that kind of time? Or do I continue? Do I stop from this? What has helped you to go through some hurdles you faced?
So before I came to this office, I had already told myself that we are coming here for contribution. You are not coming for consumption. The reason why people are aggressive and they almost fight everything is when their consumption has been tampered with. So you're not going to tamper with any of my aspirations, because my motivation in the office is not what to eat. It's about what to give. So that's why when we were having challenges of how do we fund a GA project, but this time around, since GA has a lot of projects following protocol, it's difficult to achieve everything unless you can use alternative approaches that are also transparent and accountable before you can achieve anything meaningful. And I also want to leave it as advice to leaders. If you can make good use of your network, not because of selfish reasons, but if the reasons are quite okay and healthy, it will help your organization. Let's take, for instance, the principal clerk new residence. It was achieved through alternative funding. So even though when we started it, a lot of people thought that we were doing it because of what we want to eat. But as you can see, God helped us to achieve it within 3 years. And that is where I am living. That's where the principal clerk is living. People were thinking that I'm going to use that approach to enrich myself. But I told them, no, we are not coming for what to eat, because by the grace of God, before we join the assignment, before we join the office, God has already given me what a lot of people look for in the office when they're in the office. So we are not looking for that. So when they now accuse you or think that you have done one thing or that, you laugh. You laugh because, like as I'm going, the principal clerk residence will be there. I will not go with it. The office complex we're building, as we are going, we're not going with it. We'll leave it here. So I saw it as a challenge, and this challenge and also a difficulty is when an officer is being accused by those who only suspect, not that they have facts. It's a big challenge and it can be discouraging. But by the